today I want to talk to you about community within the African tradition, within the African spirituality. What is community? What does it mean? How do you want to handle it? So this past week I've been having a lot of conversation about spirituality and community and what it means, what community means to us. And I'm going to use a little bit of my own personal experience when I'm talking about this, but I always do, but I try not to be too personal, to mix in my personal life completely, but I think it is, I'm going to be talking from my own perspective and experiences so you can understand that I'm actually living what I'm talking about. Okay, so in my tradition, in my country, the tradition is we take care of our own. We take care of our family, and for us, family is not mom and dad and the kids. Family is mom, dad, cousin, uncle, great uncle, great cousin, grandparents, grandmother, great grandmother. It's everyone. It's everyone. And I've mentioned before in other videos that it is very, very important for you to keep up with the news within your family, to know who got married, who's having kid, what kind of kid they had, because based on our tradition that when you have twins, the twins get titles, and the child that's born in all of the different segments of the family right after twins have also each a title. So let's say if my cousins has twins, when I have a kid, if my son is the first of my son to be born after the twins, he has a title. If my brother has a daughter or a son born right after these twins as the first one, he's gonna have a title as well. So that's how it works. That means you have to keep up with what's going on with your cousins too in order to know that. And for us, it's really something that's on a ethnicity level, because if you don't give that title to that child who claims and who comes knowing that he deserves to have that title, that child may start having slow developmental issues. And this is something that's well known within the community. We've seen children who were developing really slow, and then the moment we started it was known that a cousin or someone in the extended family had twins and that he had to have that title, calling him by that name, calling him by his title. Actually, we saw that immediately the child started being bloomed right away. So it's not sometimes that somebody is trying to do with you or putting a curse on all that stuff. Sometimes it's just a matter, depending on the tradition where you are, to know the tradition, and be able to use the tradition to make sure that you're not blocking yourself from certain blessings. You're not blocking yourself from certain things that should be coming to you naturally. And those children are very special. So I'm not going to get too much into that, because I really wanted to talk about community and what it means. What it means to care for your own. What it means to be, to look at others and to think about the greater picture. To not just think about yourself, but to think about other people that are in there with you. To think about generational wealth. To think about family and what it means. The joy, the responsibility, the commitment. I've mentioned in videos that at the center of African spirituality is the community. At the center of the community is the family. At the center of the family is the individual. So you should never lose perspective of that. As an individual, you are part of a family, you are part of a community. And so that's why it becomes really, really important to understand what it means. What it means when you're taking your own path and when you're taking your own decision for yourself, and you have to put them in perspective with the family and the community. Are those decisions going to support you and support your family and support your community? Are these decisions are going to further the purposes of the overall goal of your tribe, of your clan, your ethnicity, or not? And it's extremely, extremely important. Now, there's many ways to go about this. There's many ways to embody this principle. I'm going to talk about the one I know. And so, what does it mean? It means that, for example, if you happen to do well, to have a nice job, or to have a business that's blooming and glowing, or to have a farm that's doing very well, that's very productive, than your brother, let's say. And your brother may be struggling and he has also several kids. It's not a matter of telling your brother he shouldn't have kids because he can't afford it. Like, you have to understand that in African spirituality, that concept of not being able to afford kids, that does not exist. It simply does not exist, and it's something that you need to, I think, to let go if you ever want to truly be immersed in African spirituality or in any indigenous system of belief or way of life. I have yet to meet any indigenous people that will wait in the life of a child, the life of the gift of having a child with money. Because most of those cultures don't even work around money anyways. So bringing the money equation is something that's modern, that's new. And I think many people are being tricked into choosing between having that ancestor come back and having money, not thinking that they are not mutually exclusive and one does not depend on the other. People having babies and families for thousands of years without having any money, okay? That's just a fact. And people continue to do this and will continue to do on because your capacity to have wealth or to have resources or to be well taken care of does not depend on how much money you have. It depends on how much resources you have, which is not the same thing, and which varies from one community to another based on the environment you're in and the culture that you are in. That will impact your perception of your way of life and what you can expect in life. So once you understand that in African spirituality, life is valued. Life is truly really valued. The community, as a communal principle, life is always going to be valued over money, over your personal interest, over your over whatever you think you cannot overcome. And I'm not going to get into abortion. That's going to be another one for a subject of a different video. But I want to get to you for you to understand that a lot of people will even be willing to sacrifice themselves in order to protect another life. And this, one of the example of is that, for example, if you're doing well and your brother is struggling and you have many kids, you will take on the school fees for the children, the education of these children. And that is something that's completely normal, that no one should have to come to you and say, you should have to do this. This is something that people used to do on their own. They used to see their brothers struggling and they used to assist and help each other. Because by helping those children tomorrow are the ones that are going to be coming back and taking care of this person. Because it's something that gives back. It's a circle. You give because you're going to be given back. It's a circle. And it's the same way, the children then, when you've been taken care of by extended family member, you are much more inclined to value the usefulness, the love and the affection and the care of the family as a whole, the extended family as a whole. And that has nothing to do with family reunion. It has to do with your uncle being there, stepping in as a role model if your father passed away, stepping in to care for you, stepping in to give you the nurturing that you do need, stepping in to give you the counsel that you need on all different levels. And doing that from a place of love and a place of understanding and a place of responsibility as a man, as a leader. So that's the core of foundation of what community stands on. And I've lived it. My parents have lived it. My father, for example, when his father passed away, part of his school fees were paid by his uncles. And we are doing that now. We are helping out our cousins. We are making sure, no one, as we all rising, that we all rise together. We're not leaving anybody behind. We're not going out to get for our own and get for ourselves and do for ourselves. Because we can do for ourselves if we don't have them. Okay? And sometimes they become a motivation. And this is why I say, you have to always aim for higher. You cannot be stagnating. You cannot be resting and chilling and holding on back because you think you made it, while you're looking at, the extended family are struggling. Now, of course, there are caveats to all of this. This means also that, if your brother or sister is having issues, you have to step in to assist and help them. Because that's what we do. Because that's part of being a community. And anyone that does not understand that is going to struggle into African spirituality. You're going to have a constant struggle and constant battle until you understand that assisting somebody in need is a natural function. It's not something you need to get a medal for. I mean, you do get props and all that, but those are bonuses, because the internal gratification that you're supposed to get when you're doing that is already there. That's really actually what's going to lead you to go further. The same way, from that you get internal gratification, but you also get abundance and blessings that are going to pour onto you just because you're doing the right thing. So it's really something to consider and to truly understand. Understand what is your place in the family. What does it mean to you to have a family? What does it mean to you to have an extended family? How are you relating to these people? And how are you educating your children to understand those concepts? To understand that, your cousins, you could tell them they are your cousins, but we tell them they are your brothers and sisters. You know it very well who's your parents. There's no confusion about that. But the term cousins, is rarely used. You call them by their first name, but you treat them like the brothers and sisters. So that understanding, that meshing, is really important. And I've mentioned in other videos that your best friend becomes your brother, becomes your sister, and is integrated in the family because they are actually fulfilling the role of a family member. The best friend may be the one taking care of certain aspect of what you need to do for your children, or offering them opportunities, caring for them, or protecting them. It becomes a greater tribe that is not bound by blood. It becomes greater than that. Okay, what does it mean in practicality, in life, in real life? That means, sometimes you have a family member who makes mistakes. Someone who may borrow something or do something, that make them in financial trouble. And the whole clan has to pull together to address that situation, to help this person out. And sometimes you have to do things that you don't like, that you wouldn't want to do necessarily. If you were in a mode of individualistic, you will probably hoard your money for yourself and just grind with that and care just about you and yourself. You decide not to have kids and they decide to do it, so they have to carry that burden. That's not the way we look at it. You may have chosen to not have kids because that's your path, but that does not alleviate you from the responsibility to take care of other people. And I know it probably sounds frustrating, and I know I'm going to see some of the comments below saying no, this and that, because you don't understand. And you don't understand maybe because you haven't been afforded that kind of protection. You have been afforded to make a mistake and to have a family member or several family members step in and get you out of that gutter, and to feel that protection, and to feel that you're not alone, to feel that support, and then to know that you're going to have to give it in return, or to know that you've given it in return, and to do your best in terms of nourishing that and supporting that and fitting into that. So it's true that if you haven't experienced, for example, somebody paying off your student loan or paying off your tuition so you don't have to have student loan because they are your brother or your sister, or people pulling together so that you don't have to pay rent, so you don't have to worry about car insurance, or you don't have to worry about certain expenses, and you be feeling supported. If you never had that, it may be difficult for you to perceive what you can receive by adhering to that kind of code, by adhering to that kind of system. For example, I have to say, my parents raised 7 children directly, and many others, but the seven of us, and we all went through college. We all finished our studies debt-free, so we didn't have to pay for college. My parents took that care of them. My parents never bought a brand new car. So they sacrificed certain things so that we could start our lives at a level that others didn't have the opportunity. So this is what I'm saying when I say, it's not all about you and yourself and what you want to do and just taking care of your own self, and that individualistic perspective. That has no place if you want to deal with African spirituality. And I have to say it loud and clear, and I repeat it, that has no place if you want to deal with African spirituality. You may be single without any children, but your sister's children are yours. Meaning that it's not when she's diseased that you're going to start treating them like your own kid. It starts now. Okay? So it's about a perception, it's about a mentality that has to be really ingrained in you, and that we ingrain in our children. So sorry guys, I had a phone call. So what were, so we were talking about community and being able to support your own and be able to perceive the fact that when you have benefited from this type of system, when people have supported you, when you have felt the love of your auntie or your cousins and your uncle, you are bound to want to give that love back and that support back. You're bound to want to look at the next your little cousins and want to help them out and do the same for them as well. So it's really in that type of mindset. So you have to really shake the independence movement or whatever it is out of you to be able to place yourself in a community where you will receive as much as you've put in and you will put out as much as you've gotten in from this system. And it's really in that perspective. Now I'm gonna go into the other side of it, because of course it's never all rosy and nothing really truly is. You always have sometimes people who don't want to adhere to this kind of policy, people who want to try to munch on the system or ride the wave without contributing anything. And this is where you can kind of get into little hurdles where you have people who want to slide in through, take advantage of the system, take advantage of others. So for example, in the example I gave earlier, when one family member makes a mistake, it could be, you know, getting to debt and being in trouble, and then the whole family gather and decides to pay that debt off so that this person can start over. And in that kind of situation, you as a family member, you may feel like, oh, why should I, you know, chunk in $500 when this person actually made a stupid decision? And it's not a matter of, you know, being so much judgmental, because we have a family discussion, a family reunion where we sit down, where we break down what happened, we break down the issue, and the person that committed the mistakes is truly sorry and truly is in the process of learning from that. Actually, we're all learning from that, because sometimes it's not because you were not the one who made the mistakes that you may not have thought of something that's stupid, or that you think is stupid, or something that that could have had the same negative consequences. So this is an opportunity to tell yourself that, okay, I'm gonna chunk that $500 in the park to get this person out, so that when I make a mistake at my turn, people will actually rally and help me get out, help me get that lesson and move on. And that's usually the way it goes. People make mistakes, they realize their mistakes, and then they move on. The issue comes when somebody is making several mistakes or trying to write the system. You're thinking, now I can just go on and be unwise any way I want, because I know that I have a tribe behind me that's going to support and kind of like get me out of there. That's when the issue starts appearing. And there's also a way to deal with such people by cutting them off eventually. So they will still get the support, the emotional support, the spiritual support, but they're not going to get any of the financial support or of the benefits of the financial support. And that can be done as soon as after the first mistake. They, you know, it could be told to them very clearly that, you know, we're going to get you out of this one, but you won't be able to count on us if you do a similar mistake. And most of the time people get it. Now you do have the person who are the receivers, the people who want to just, you know, do out of the place and have successful failures in businesses or do other ventures and constantly failing and trying new things. And I think it all depends on each situation. This could be genuine mistakes where things just don't work out and the trap's still going to support you. Now, if that's the thing, the caveat is when people start having the impression that you are not contributing, you're not doing anything else, you're just writing off other people and not even appreciating the fact that people are just pulling all their resources to be with you, then that's when you start having a lot of issues and a lot of problems. And that's when it's important for you to know that you're not going to receive that same support, and that you may be on your own in terms of financial difficulties. And that's important for you to understand that. That's important for that person to understand that. It's also important to be wise about this. As I mentioned, being and having that sense of community has to be ingrained in the child from childhood. It's very hard to ingrain that in an adult, especially when the adult hasn't lived the benefits of it, the benefits of the system. When a child understands that, you know, auntie is doing this for you, this person is doing that for you, the cousins are doing this for you, and they understand that they are part of a tribe, they're part of a system that's actually supporting them, they're much more inclined on their turn when they're having a decision to make, to have that thought, to have that reflection, to make sure that it is the best decision, that they're including everything, or even and to contribute to the ventures of others as well. Now, if you've never lived in this kind of system and you're new to that, then you're going to have to kind of change your mind so that you can actually be infused in that. But don't be naive. There's plenty of people who just wait for you to try to implement this kind of system so they can take your money and run with it. And this is where you have to be kind of careful. You have to examine what are the value of the people around you. Are they sharing the same value? When you're discussing about family project and family long-term objective, especially when you're talking about generational wealth, you have to talk about what are the goals. You have to talk about what is each person willing to sacrifice in order to get there, so that each person can contribute to the at their own level. You know, somebody who's making $200,000 may be able to contribute financially much more, but somebody who's making less may contribute in a different way. It may contribute emotional support, may contribute other kind of resources that are not necessarily monetary. So that's also something to take in consideration, and to always remember that so long as everyone is contributing to their own level, then there's no comparison and there's no weighting in. It's not because someone is contributing more financial money that they have to have a specific kind of status than somebody who's doing their best at their own level. So it's really a look in terms of the level you are and what you're contributing to the pot that's going to be interesting rather than the actual amounts. And the other thing is that it gives you a sense, when you have that sense of community, it gives you a sense of safety as well, of security too. So it's great to implement if you are seeking that kind of sense of security and that kind of sense of safety, because you're going to know that other people have your back. So you're never truly alone in the endeavor that you're taking on when you're making decision. And that also implies that you're not just going off and making the decision on your own. You're consulting with the tribe, you're consulting with your parents, your uncle, your brothers and sisters to have their input in terms of what you're trying to do. Some of them may have knowledge about what you're trying to do and may be able to give you wisdom and nuggets about how to go about it faster or better. So some of them can counsel you, and people are much more inclined to come to your rescue if something goes wrong when they've been involved from the start into your personal project than when you go off and you do them on your own and then you expect people to come and back you up. So it's a whole mindset that has to change and that has to be implemented. You have to give to other people the same attention that will give to your own project. So you have to be willing to be curious about what other people are doing, what are their plans, what's going on, and keeping up with that. And so I just wanted to come in and talk about this, because when we're talking about community and we're talking about, you know, working together, supporting each other, I think it starts at home. It starts with the family. Surely there may be people in your family, members of your family that you don't really mesh with, that you probably don't really agree with and have differences or don't want to be around or don't want to work with. That's fine. You don't have to include everybody, but there has to be a core. There has to be a foundation, a ground that enables you still to see the group and to see the whole. Don't let your feelings or resentment for one person admonish what the plan or objective of the tribe is. So you have to have kind of like a perspective in terms of how you're seeing things and in terms of how you want to contribute, and not let, you know, some minor disagreement stop that. And I think that's the essence of family. We may disagree, but we always have each other's back, and that's the whole point of it. And so I'll ask you to think about your community, to think about your family. I mean, if you're watching Boyce Watkins' channel, which about Black financial wealth and being financially stable and doing more, it's also about, you know, seeking the resources you currently have, seeking of the knowledge and the wisdom that are around you with your family members. Some of them have probably done some wonderful, great project that they may tell you about, that may have experiences that you can help you. So it's important to tap into those resources which are just available to you. And so I encourage you, when you're thinking about your family, don't stop just to your brothers and sisters. Go further and see what your cousins are doing, or cousins are planning. Maybe sometimes you're looking for a partner for business, and instead of looking at a foreign stranger or an extended friend or somebody who you went to school with, you may start by looking into your own family and to seeing what are the good apples in there, what are the people who are interested and passionate also about the same thing that you are, or who are just laying around and will be passionate to give a hand and put their energy supporting you more concretely by partnering with you or by working with you or for you in this upcoming venture that you may have. I think this is the first step. This is the first step, assessing the family members that can support and help you before you even go outside of the family and look into the community, and before you even go outside of the community to look for other people. And I think this kind of mindset, when you're actually looking to value the resources that you have and the people that are around you in your tribe, the capital, the social capital that you already have available, it will make things a lot easier. It will make things a whole lot easier, especially if you have trusting, loving family and people who have supported you all along and will continue to do so. And I think it's also great for children to see you work together with other family members and to, you know, see family members getting into partnership at a business level, but also at a social level in that partnership aspect. And so it's not something that's kind of really fuzzy and out there. It's really something that I think if you don't have that kind of structure, I think it's something worth considering, challenging yourself to see what kind of relationship can I better in order to reach that, in order to create new bonds, new affinities with family members, and see how we can put our little resources together to make something great. So thank you so much for being with me, and I do hope that African spirituality and that perspective in terms of community inspire you to see the potential that's around you. The potential, of course, in your family first, then also in your friends, your closest friends, but also within your community. So you can see that you have already many people and many resources at your disposition to create what you like and what you dream of. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!